Wanted fugitive Michael Lomas will appear in the Kempton Park Magistrates Court today on charges of fraud and corruption. That's been confirmed by police spokesperson Brigadier Athlenda Mate. Lomas is being extradited to South Africa from the UK. He is wanted for fraud and corruption in excess of 1.5 billion rand. This while in the employ of Eskom at the Kusile power station between 2008 and 2018. He is expected to touch down at OR Tambo International Airport this morning.
I can confirm to you that SAPS Interpol extradition unit left the country earlier this week to fetch that particular suspect. They are on the flight. They are expected to land at around 09:50, as you've rightly indicated. They are on a Qatar flight to South Africa. So upon arrival, he will be read his rights accordingly. We have the lead investigator from the Hawks who will be at the airport, who will then officially place him under arrest. We can confirm that he is expected to appear before the Kempton Park Magistrates Court, where he will be formally charged. Some of the charges that he's facing: fraud, corruption, unauthorized gratification, and so on, forming part of the court order that was issued to us as South Africa. The UK court order directed that we include a doctor aboard the flight on his extradition to ensure that medically he's well taken care of, citing ill health on the part of this particular suspect.
And we're going to show you what we're able to see first before we can move on with that particular story. But we've been waiting for him for much of the morning, anticipation that he was going to arrive at around 10 to 10. And that obviously didn't happen. Our Hasina Gore telling us earlier that it seems there were delays to his flight. And he ended up, of course, or rather we ended up having to wait for much longer than anticipated. But that's the live shot from Terminal A at OR Tambo International Airport, and that's where we're anticipating his arrival. As I mentioned, Hasina Gore is part of our team watching the story. And Hasina, if you're able to hear us, take us through what we're seeing and what we anticipate might happen at any moment now.
Good afternoon, Ayanda. The visuals you're seeing right now is that of the 77-year-old fugitive Michael Lomas, now coming through that international arrivals doorway here. He's touched down from the United Kingdom right now. As he came on that flight from Heathrow, he was arrested in 2021 and has been trying to avert his extradition to South Africa, trying to block that, saying that he has medical issues, that he has medical issues at this stage, and that's why he should not be extradited. In August, that was blocked at that stage, and the United Kingdom court granted that he can be extradited to South Africa, but he has to be brought with a medical official with him. That's the visuals we're seeing right now. He's being handed over to the Hawks, to the police station here at the OR Tambo International Airport. That's the visuals we're giving to you right now. He's been brought in a wheelchair. The 77-year-old is facing charges of 745 million rand case of fraud, corruption, all relating to the Kusile plant in Mpumalanga. These dates back to 2008 to 2015. And we're told that we're going to be stopped right here, where he will then proceed to the police station, where he will now be processed. And what we're told is that he's then going to be taken to the Kempton Park Magistrates Court at this stage. These are where we are told we will be stopped at.
Corruption-accused Michael Lomas is set to spend his first night in a South African prison following his extradition from the United Kingdom. Lomas made his first appearance at the Kempton Park Magistrates Court shortly after being handed over to the Hawks at OR Tambo International Airport. The former Eskom contractor faces 41 charges of corruption linked to a 745 million rands payment concerning the construction of the Kusile power station. He's scheduled to return to court next Friday. Newsroom Africa's Veronica Makwadi asked him some questions outside court.
The crime that you're about to answer to here, how do you feel about the charges? That
I can't answer any of that. Can't answer any of that. But it's great to be back.
It's great to be back. How do you feel about, how are you doing? Are you well?
No, I'm not well.
You have a neck brace. Can you tell me what is specific?
ACDF at the front, laminectomy and foreignectomy.
Energy expert Chris Yelland joins us for more. Chris, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. It's only the beginning of what is no doubt going to be a long and drawn-out case.
Yeah, are we talking about this media briefing today regarding Sasol and Eskom?
Sorry, I was talking about Eskom and Michael Lomas.
Sorry, yes. Look, he has been extradited to South Africa. He's been taken in by the Hawks, apparently, and he is facing charges of corruption for a very large sum of money, I think in the region of over R1 billion, relating to projects at Kusile power station to do with the so-called air condensers for which his company was contracted to build. It is, I think, going to be a long drawn-out case, as these things inevitably are. Cases of fraud and corruption are notoriously difficult, require extensive investigation, and getting all the facts together in a way that can be presented to a court takes a lot of effort. So I do think it's going to be long and protracted. No doubt there will be appeals, and these things tend to drag on for years.
Yes, not that. No.
So I kind of feel we'll know what's going on with him when we find out what happens at his court appearance, because he's arrived back today. He'll either appear in court today or on Monday. You have to appear in court within 48 hours of being arrested. Well, his arrest will have taken place when he stepped off the plane. He can't be arrested overseas. He was already arrested overseas, but he wasn't arrested by South Africa. He was arrested by the UK authorities on an Interpol warrant. So his formal arrest will have taken place when he stepped off the plane, and then he has to appear in court either today or Monday. And then, in my opinion, three things can happen to it. Either he's released on bail, or he's detained without bail, or he's released into the witness protection program. Now, if he's released into the witness protection program, then you can be satisfied that he's going to be a state witness against these other individuals. If he's released on bail, I would assume that he's going to be a state witness against these other individuals. So we'll only know when they make their next appearance in court. They tried very, very hard to get their case struck off, but they failed. So I guess now that Mike Lomas is home, if that's the right expression to use, and we know he's home because I was monitoring his flight. I think I sent you a picture of Flight Finder. He was somewhere over Chad at 4 o'clock this morning, but his flight landed at, I think, 16 minutes past 9 this morning. So he's well and truly on South African soil. I believe his wife is with him. And I believe that there was a medical practitioner on the plane as well, because Mike is not a fit and healthy person. He's 78.
What happens, Paul? What happens when you actually arrive? So you've been arrested by the British police. They put you onto an aeroplane. Presumably you don't fly business class. You come to OR Tambo. You get off the plane. You get arrested by the South African police, and remember, then you go to jail.
You're already in the company of the South African police when you get on the plane, because you don't travel on the plane on your own. And as you rightly say, you don't travel business class. So the standard protocol for arrested persons that are being transported, what they call prisoner transportation, is that they sit with the police officers that are transporting them at the back of the plane, at the very back of the plane. And then what normally happens is the plane will be disembarked and they remain seated. And then when the plane has been disembarked, they will disembark. And there will be somebody waiting at OR Tambo. Now, the plane they came in was an A380. So I would have parked on A terminal, and the plane would have been disembarked, and then they would have left, and the investigating officer either was on the plane with him, but there would have been other police officials. And once he steps off the plane, he's on international territory until he steps off the plane. But once he has his feet on South African soil, then they would formally touch him on the shoulder and say, "I'm arresting you," blah, blah, blah. Now he's formally under arrest in terms of the South African Criminal Procedures Act. Then the next process is they have to process him. They have to book him in. He would have been booked in at the SAP14 register at OR Tambo Airport. They have a cells there. He would have been put in the cells while he's booked in. and then they issue a thing called a live body receipt, and the police at OR Tambo would have issued that receipt to the investigating officer or whoever was there to collect him and take him away. And they would have taken him away. Now, I guess his next port of call would probably be Pretoria Central, or it could be Johannesburg Central. I don't really know, depending on how the docket is being managed. But it's certainly, I understand they appeared in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court, but in the Commercial Crime Court, which is seated at the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court. So they would have probably taken him to book him in at Johannesburg Central. And then his court appearance would either be today or Monday, and then from there you will know what's going to happen. Now, he has to appear in court. There's no ways about that. And if they decide to keep him and detain him, it might appear that way in court. Because if he's going into the witness protection program, that would be detention as well. There's two types of detention in the witness protection program. And one of those types is you're detained as a prisoner, where you're actually under guard all the time, but you're still in the witness protection program. Now, since his wife is thought to have flown with him, I'm guessing that they probably have a little, what we call a safe house, somewhere for him to stay, which will be secure, until he appears in court to give evidence. And my imagination would be that at some point he will give evidence against these rascals, and then at some point he would plead guilty and be given a suspended sentence in terms of Section 105A. And then obviously he will go back to the UK and finish what's left of his life. But if he's an uncooperative person, which I doubt, because he was extremely cooperative with us, if he's an uncooperative person, then I guess he's probably going to spend the rest of his life in a South African prison.
What's happened to the rest of the gang, as you call them, Trindade, Tlakudi, and the others who were involved in the plundering of Eskom?
So they're on bail, and they trial is in the process of getting ready to proceed. Now, it may well be that with Lomas being home, the matter will be moved from the Commercial Crime Court to the High Court, because, or it may stay at the Commercial Crime Court. The thing about it is that there's a large sum of money involved. We're not talking about 5 rand here. We're talking about hundreds of millions of rand, over 1 billion rand. My estimate, 1.4 billion rand. Now, if you've got corruption to the tune of 1.4 billion rand, you've got to be looking at somewhere between 20 years and life sentences for those individuals. So I think they're all facing very lengthy sentences. And with or without the evidence of Mike Lomas, they're open and shut case. The evidence is watertight.
And Tony Trindade, I've seen your emails to him, and they're typical Paul O'Sullivan emails where you stir him up a little bit. His reaction to you, if I recall, was, and well, you've explained it now, was to counter everything that you'd said. But you did say in one of your affidavits that he does have a Portuguese passport. Has that been taken from him?
Yeah, his Portuguese passport has been, he's on bail and there's reporting conditions. So he can't leave the country. He's here now. He's stuck here. He used the proceeds of crime to hire lawyers to have a poke at me. I pointed out to them that they were being paid with the proceeds of crime. It didn't seem to bother them. But they failed in everything they tried to do. And after their failure, a week or 2 weeks after they failed, their clients were arrested. So who's paying them now? I don't know, because Trindade himself has been sequestrated. His companies have all been liquidated. On paper, he's a penniless man. But we all know that over a period of time, he moved millions and millions of rand out of the country. And we know that because we've got evidence of that. And we gave that evidence to the liquidators. So what they're able to get back. But I'm pretty sure that Trindade has stuffed quite a few million rand. I'm just guessing at 100 million or maybe more will have gone to Portugal. How do we know that? Because he was money laundering between his companies, and he established overseas companies in places like Angola and Portugal, and he bought equipment from those companies and transferred money overseas, and that equipment was already here. He already owned it, so he was buying equipment that he already owned, and that was done for the purpose of money laundering. It's amazing how the banks assisted in all this money laundering. It's mind-blowing, in fact, that the banks in South Africa have been so readily able to assist in the money laundering of these criminals. And it leaves me no doubt that it's the conduct of the banks like that, and the lawyers, by the way, law firms that knowingly get paid with the proceeds of crime, but are quite happy to receive that money and quite happy to perform services for that money. those are the type of people that have got South Africa onto the grey list. And those are the type of people that I would also like to see going down with people like Trindade and Flukadi. But, you know, unfortunately, it seems they get away with it. I wonder how many of them are now becoming compliant. We saw a recent report by the FIC that said only 38% or 40% of lawyers and estate agents and the category of people that have to issue compliance reports, only 40% of them have issued compliance reports, which means 60% of them are non-compliant, which is shocking. So this grey listing is here with us for a while to come still.